Hello everyone, welcome. Today we're taking an updated look at one of my favorite tips for journaling in a traveler's notebook or really in any notebook. You could even use this as something to prompt you as you journal on your tablet or your laptop, but I kind of like the analog way to do it. So I will, as per usual, put links in the description in case there's something you would like to get for yourself or a gift for someone else, because I'm going to talk about the book, which is the key to all this, and 3 different ways to use it with some examples of how I've done that. And then I'm also going to talk about why it's especially well suited for traveler's notebooks, for giving you illustration ideas and travel themes. All right, so the book is called The Tiny Book of Tiny Pleasures. If you've been here before, you may have seen me talk about this before. Welcome back. It's nice to see you again. If you're new here, please do me a favor, introduce yourself if you'd like, and in the comments section, let us know a tip that helps you use your journal more often. So it's not just sitting on the shelf. What's something that gets that notebook off the shelf into your hands with a pen, with some stickers or some watercolor, whatever makes you happy? What is one tip that you think we all need to know that will help us use our notebooks more often? So this is called The Tiny Book of Tiny Pleasures. It really is tiny. It's only 4¼ inches by 4¼ inches. And I found it, believe it or not, on the shelf at my local library in the art section. They don't normally carry books this small, so it really jumped out at me on the shelf. And I thought, I really like this. As I thumbed through it, I thought, I think I'm gonna need one of these for myself. So I immediately, like in the library, I went to Amazon's website and I ordered it prime shipping, and it came either the next day or the day after. It was that quick, in my hands and ready to use. And I have used it so often since then. It has been certainly one of the most valuable tools or supplies that I have purchased in the last several years, definitely. So that's why I keep talking about it. A treasure trove for journaling, and especially for your traveler's notebook. First of all, you can use it just for journal prompts. You can keep it on your bookshelf or your desk, and you can say, hey, I want to journal today, but I don't want to just vent. Because I don't know about you, but that's what I'm prone to do, is just sit down and vent. And instead, you can flip through this and look at the illustrations, how adorable they are. Underneath, they have tiny pleasures. Everything is something that makes you happy. So for example, a postcard that cheers you up pinned above your desk. Licking the mixing bowl clean. I don't know about you, that is definitely something that I do. Oh, brownie batter. Embracing wanderlust. Getting inside just before the rain starts. A restful night, a cup of comfort. This is a good example where if you're just gonna use it as a journal prompt for writing, you could look at this cup for comfort with coffee with the pretty latte design and say, what are my favorite kinds of coffee? You could write about that. Or you could write about the different coffee houses that you've been to. Make a list. Or you could write about someone that you really enjoy sitting down and sharing a cup of coffee with. There's so many ways to take each of these little illustrations and the notes that come with them and turn them into full journal entries, thinking of the prettiest place you know. What about taking your bike instead of a car? From where you live, is there a place that you can just ride your bike or walk? What about finding and planting some seeds? What about an unexpected discount at the cash register? So the back, I think, explains it pretty well. It says, happiness is splashing in puddles, drinking tea out of a beautiful china cup, a ladybug on your finger, peeling an orange in one go. And happiness is a little book whose every page inspires the reader to slow down and savor the unassuming little moments that make life so rich. All right, so we've talked about how we can just use them strictly as journal prompts, nothing else. But they're pretty, aren't they? It's very artful. And a lot of these are things that aren't necessarily that difficult to paint. So if you're getting involved in a watercolor practice, you can use these as inspiration for watercoloring. So for example, this is a delicious breakfast, and then it has, your cereal bowl and cereal with beautiful berries on top. Let me show you what I did with one of them. This was a road trip, and I thought it was really clever how they showed driving through the windshield, and then they had the beautiful scenery in the background. So I thought that their illustration reminded me of the Blue Ridge Parkway. And so I basically sketched the same thing, although I'm really terrible at painting hands. I did not do the 10 and the 2 like John Mayer would say. I just have one hand here and one hand on the wheel. Blue Ridge Parkway, ink and wash. And so that is a Tombow mono drawing pen, which is my favorite. It dries instantly, so you don't have to sit and wait for it. So Tombow mono drawing pen, then I painted it with whichever watercolors I was using at the time. And then down here I lettered, and I thought, okay, what's a quote that fits with road tripping? And I thought about John Steinbeck's Travels with Charley, which is one of my absolute favorite books. And he has this quote where he said, "I saw in their eyes something I was to see over and over in every part of the nation, a burning desire to go, to move, to get underway, any place, away from, capital H, here." Where would you go if you could just get away from here? And so I painted this, I wrote the quote, and then over here, which I've covered up, I listed some of my absolute favorite road trips that I've taken over my life. All right, so you can use it as an inspiration for watercolor and journaling. The other thing that you can do is something that I just did recently. This is my current traveler's notebook. And this is my everyday carry. It has my planner in the front, my list book. It's got a jotter in the back. And this is the journal that I'm working in right now, which is a lightweight traveler's company, which has like 128 pages. And one of these pages it says a beautifully laid table. It had a candle and some pretty greenery. It had beautiful glassware. Then it had a really pretty place setting and a pretty menu, a beautifully laid table. And I thought about that difference between dining and just eating. And I found this quote. It's by Yuan Mei, who was a Chinese poet in the 1700s. "There is a difference between dining and eating. Dining is an art." So to turn this into more long-form journaling, I said I've been fortunate to truly dine in some gorgeous restaurants and event venues, even if I'm just as happy with pizza in front of the TV. And then in no particular order, I listed places that I especially remember over my life where somebody put real care into presenting the meal. Maybe it was a really beautiful restaurant. Maybe it was an event that I went to that we, dressed up for. Maybe it was going to someone's home and they worked really hard to make the table look beautiful for us, like for Thanksgiving. So just think of times that you've had fancy dining, I guess is the way to put it. And sometimes people have had that like every week, it's their thing. And other people maybe have had once or twice in their whole life that they felt like they had a really fancy meal. In any case, write about those. So option number 3 is to cut and paste the prompts. Just cut them out of the book. Now, my grandmother was a librarian, so for me, cutting up a book is a weird thing. It's a weird concept. But I think that this one is meant to be cut up a little bit, right? You can easily pull the pages out. You can either cut them like just more rectangular or square, or you can fussy cut around the illustration like I did here. I usually adhere whatever I'm tipping into my journals with Staples glue tape. This is the permanent version. You can get it at Staples or you can get it from Amazon, either way. I usually get it at Staples and I use my ink rewards for it. So technically it ends up being free. So these are they're super duper smooth. They never show through the back side of the page, no matter what paper I'm using. So there you go. This hand lettering is a Zebra Zensations brush pen, which is my favorite brush pen of all time because it's a nice jet black ink. It dries very quickly. It's easy to control for beginners, thin upstrokes, thick downstrokes, and it's water resistant. So if I'm in a notebook where I'm also going to be doing watercolor and I have water out on my table and I were to accidentally drip a little something, it won't ruin what I've written. So all positives. So you can use it for just plain journal prompts, just for writing. You can use this book for watercolor prompts to help you paint. You can use this to just cut out the little illustrations and use them in your junk journaling or your writing. But why is it ideal for traveler's notebooks? 2 reasons. First of all, it's so tiny at only 4.5 inches wide for the book that the illustrations almost all will fit in an A5 or a standard. So this was my A5, right? And here are a couple of the illustrations. So it's certainly going to fit on an A5 page. And then I actually tried it, and most of the illustrations will fit in a standard size traveler's notebook insert. They'll fit on the page of a B6. They'll fit on the page of an A6. They will actually, not all of them, but a lot of them will fit on the page of a pocket size insert or even a tiny little passport. So it's just ideally suited for small notebooks, small spaces, the tiny book of tiny pleasures, tiny pages, tiny illustrations. The other reason that I think it's fantastic for using in your traveler's notebook is that a lot of the ideas here, a lot of the tiny pleasures are actually based on travel. So I just picked out a couple that I thought were fun, but there are many, many more in here that can be focused on your journeys. This one says taking an unexpected route. So yeah, talk about some of the back roads that you've been on. Anticipation, and then it has a suitcase and you've started packing. Maybe do a journal entry about your packing lists. You could do it very practically and just list your packing list, or you could write about how your packing has changed over the years. And does it change based on where you're going, if you're having a car trip versus if you're flying? I really liked this one with the Eiffel Tower, and it says wandering through a new city. So talk about some of the times that you've been to a place for the very first time and what it was like walking around that location. How about climbing a mountain, literally or figuratively? And in this case, literally, what mountains have you visited? There's even a traveler's notebook in the book, a well-documented adventure. This one has a ticket, and again, it talks about that TN concept of collecting tickets, flowers, and other things for your vacation scrapbook. And I really like this one. Here's a sweet little cafe scene, and it says sitting on a terrace. So think about the times that you have eaten outdoors on a patio and write about it. Just so many. Oh, look how pretty this one is. A cherished possession that reminds you of the person who gave it to you. So it's not all travel. A lot of them are just things in your daily life. A tidy desk, or the online purchase arriving at your door, or decorating a small corner of your life, or breathing in nature. It's just the coolest little book. It's under $10 right now, and you can have it in a day or two if you have access to Amazon Prime. Thank you so much for joining me. If you found something valuable here, please click like and subscribe and share and all that good stuff. Come back and see me for more journaling and planning, anything to do with making your paper look pretty. And enjoy your travels that are upcoming and the ones that you're just dreaming of. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.